Missouri barely sneaks its way into the top
Gasconade.
25 states with the Gasconade River in the heart of the state at 280
Gasconade.
miles.
Hey guys, loud guys. Today we are going to watch what is the longest river in each US state. So I have seen a video where it was about like how Mississippi goes through the whole of kind of you can say USA, but we don't know about rivers in each and every US state, and there are many tributaries and which is the longest river. And the thing is, like, when they're asking about like longest river in each state, so it means there might be one or more river. So it is very US is a very good geography, you have to say. Like, it has a lot of rivers, it has a lot of, and it is far away from all the other countries also. So US is an amazing geography.
I have heard about the beaches of USA, a lot of beaches and like nice places to visit. But this river thing is I'm quite curious about.
So let's watch this
video.
The United States is home to some of the longest rivers in the world. In this video, I'll talk about the longest river in each state that only flows within that state. Importantly, this excludes any rivers that form state borders, but the watershed of a river could stretch into other states, as long as the river itself doesn't. I've been curious about this topic for a while and discovered some fascinating things while researching.
Wow.
By the way, I'm Chicago Geographer, and if you like geography videos like this and maybe some GeoGuess or two, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss my next one. Alright, let's start up this river tour going in order from shortest to longest.
Let's go.
Unsurprisingly, Rhode Island
Rhode
starts
Island.
us off. Its longest river, the Woonasquatucket, runs for almost 16 miles, starting near...
What is that name? Woonasquatucket.
Unaska or Unaska?
Woonasquatucket.
It's Wunaska.
Woonasquatucket.
You said Tucket.
Tucket.
It's Tucket River.
Why is that
I've
name?
not heard this name.
Yeah, same. For the first time.
Primrose and heading southeast to
25
downtown
kilometer
Providence,
river
where it
only.
empties into the Providence River. It follows a man-made channel in Providence and hosts part of the beautiful Waterfire art installation every year.
Wow.
The second smallest state also has the second shortest river on the list, which is Delaware and its nearly 22-mile Murder-Kill River. Its
12
redundantly
meter.
homicidal
Murder-Kill
name actually
river.
comes from Dutch, kill from the word for river, and
Kill.
murder an anglicization of the
Murder.
word for mother. The
Murder-Kill.
Murder-Kill very well might have the
Murder-Kill.
best name of any river on this
Murder-Kill.
list. It's in the middle of the state, running from Felton to the Delaware
Wow,
Bay.
name.
Up next is Hawaii, where we find the Wailuku
Hawaii.
River on the Big Island. This
Yeah,
volcanically
Hawaii.
sourced river starts almost 11,000 feet up on Mauna Kea and flows just 28 miles to the coast in Hilo. This sharp descent creates many rapids and waterfalls, earning it a long-standing dangerous reputation. Its
Ooh.
name means waters of destruction.
Waters
Waters
of
of
destruction.
We're starting up a long
Wailuku.
string of northeastern states with Connecticut, whose
Farmington.
longest river is the main stem of the Farmington. Measuring in at 47 miles, this section of the river starts where its two major branches converge in New Hartford, not to be confused with Old Hartford. It then follows a winding path through various towns until emptying into the Connecticut River. Up in New Hampshire, we find the 71-mile Kentucky River. It starts at Kentucky Lake in the
Kentucky.
southwest and interestingly runs northeast away from the hills, ending up just north of Concord
Yeah,
at the
very
Merrimack River.
interesting names.
Although rather small, this river provides plenty of boating and fishing opportunities to
Oh,
locals.
nice.
New Jersey's
Boating.
Raritan River is the
Evidence
state's
fishing.
longest. Including its longer south branch in its
Yeah,
overall
that's
measurement,
big.
I found it to flow for roughly 80 miles. The lower portion of the river runs east through an almost completely urbanized area, helping facilitate trade in colonial times and the development of cities
New
like
Jersey.
New Brunswick. Massachusetts brings a rather famous
Charles
river to the
River.
list, the Charles. A major feature of the Boston area, universities like Harvard and MIT are on its banks.
Oh,
It's also
this
the
is
site of a 3-day rowing race, head of the
Massachusetts.
Charles Regatta.
Massachusetts.
The river meanders
Massachusetts.
for almost 80 miles before Boston, though, starting southwest in Hopkinton. Just northwest in Vermont is the first river over 100
Otter
miles
Creek.
long, and it's
Creek.
not even called a river. Otter Creek, at about 112 miles, begins
Why
on
isn't
the
it called
slopes
a
of
river?
Mount Tabor in the south, flowing slightly northwest all the way to its mouth at Lake Champlain. Several of Vermont's larger towns developed along the Otter, such as Rutland and Middlebury. Maryland gives us a small break from the northeast, with its longest river checking in at roughly 115 miles. The Patuxent River is a major tributary of Chesapeake Bay, starting as a small stream near Mount Airy, crossing the suburbs between DC and Baltimore, and finally widening into a tidal estuary.
Pettersson.
North of here in New York is the Mohawk River, just shy of
Mohawk.
150 miles, and the largest tributary of the Hudson. With the river itself forming part of the Erie Canal, it was exceptionally important to U.S. development during the 19th century.
Wow.
The Mohawk begins north of Rome and flows east to the Hudson at Troy. Alright, that's the first 10 rivers done. West Virginia's Greenbrier River is next at 162 miles long. This is apparently the longest river in the East US that hasn't been dammed or otherwise blocked by human activity.
Oh, complete
it flows
naturally.
southwest from near the eastern panhandle into the New River just south of the New River Gorge National Park.
This is pretty.
Maine closes out New
Actually.
England with its longest river, the Kennebec, at 170 miles. It rises from Moosehead Lake and flows south into the Atlantic east of Brunswick. Along its course are some major Maine landmarks like the state capital Augusta, the historic shipbuilding town of Bath, and Maine's largest hydroelectric dam.
Damn.
Wyoming is ranked pretty low despite its
Wind
size
River.
and presents an unusual case. At 185 miles, the Wind River could be considered the longest, although that's technically just an alternate name for the upper section of the Bighorn River, which does keep flowing north into Montana after the Wetting of the Waters. If we're looking
Wetting
for
of
a
the
single
water.
river to qualify, the Sweetwater would
Divorce.
take that title
The
at
divorce.
175 miles long. Louisiana's longest self-contained river is the
Calcasieu.
Calcasieu. Measuring an even
Calcasieu.
200 miles, it makes its way through southwest Louisiana forests, eventually hitting Lake Charles and emptying into the Gulf of Mexico. This river suffers quite heavily from pollution, unfortunately, due to the area's heavy petrochemical industry presence.
Oh.
Just north in Arkansas is the Saline River at 202 miles. It's a tributary of the
Arkansas.
Washtenaw River and flows through the center of Arkansas's southern half, rising near the city of Benton, southwest of Little Rock. Without any major development along its banks, it's one of the healthiest river systems in the state and country.
Nice.
Washington also feels a bit early on the list, but the Yakima River is its longest at 214 miles.
344
It's heavily irrigated,
kilometers.
supporting a major agricultural
Huge.
region and large population centers like Yakima and the Tri-Cities, where it
Yakima.
meets the Columbia after a southeasterly journey from the Cascades. Another large but dry state is next. New Mexico's Rio Puerco is the longest in the state at 230
Rio
miles, beginning in the
Puerco.
San Pedro Peaks and running south through desert and Native American reservations to the Rio Grande. During the dry months in this area, no
Oh.
water flows at all in the river.
No water.
The Midwest finally makes its first appearance
I
with
used to hate
Ohio's
summer
231-mile-long Scioto River, which makes its way south through the middle of the state
Scioto.
and empties
Looks
into
like
the
a
Ohio River.
Korean
Most
name.
notable as a landmark
Even
of the state
Yakima,
capital,
what was
Columbus,
his
it
name?
provides
Yakima.
drinking water to
Yakima.
millions and
Yeah.
is also represented on Ohio's state seal. The Great Plains are on the board now too, with South Dakota's 234-mile
Little White River.
Starting very
White
close to
River.
Nebraska on the Pine Ridge
Cute
Reservation, its path winds east through the Rosebud Reservation and then turns north to flow into the not-so-little White River. Pennsylvania's longest is the Susquehanna River, or rather the west branch of the Susquehanna. At 243 miles, it's considered a tributary of the main part of the river, which starts in New York. The west branch is entirely in Pennsylvania, of course, and it runs generally east through the Allegheny Mountains until its confluence with the main branch in Northumberland. Colorado has plenty of very long rivers,
Yampa.
but they all pass through other states too. As such, the 250-mile Yampa River barely qualifies for this list, flowing into the Green River just 3.5 miles away from Utah after rising in the Rockies. Carving its way through gorgeous canyons and mountains, it remains one of the few mostly undammed western rivers.
In Grand Canyon.
South Carolina is just about tied with Colorado at
Edisto.
250 miles. Its Edisto River is one of North
Edisto
America's
River.
longest free-flowing blackwater rivers, a type of
Blackwater?
slow-moving river in swampy wetlands. In the Edisto's case,
Dirty
it
or
slowly
no?
winds its way
Texas
through
like
South
that.
Carolina forests until hitting the Atlantic between Charleston and Hilton Head Island. This next river is truly grand, located in southwestern Michigan
Grand
at
River.
252 miles long, lending its name to some of Michigan's major cities like Grand Rapids and Grand Haven, where the river empties into Lake Michigan. It was once famous for the rapids in Grand Rapids.
Grand
They were a
River.
mile long, but disappeared as the river was dammed throughout the 19th century.
Oh.
My home state of
Rapids
Illinois
are
has
very
the
good
first
for
eponymous
river
river of the
rafting.
list, the Illinois, at about 273 miles long. Starting from the far southwest reaches of Chicagoland, it makes up the majority of a highly important shipping route connecting the Great Lakes to the Gulf of Mexico. It eventually makes its way to the Mississippi north of St. Louis, passing Peoria on its way. Back on the East Coast, North Carolina's Neuse River rounds out the first half of this video. It runs for 275 miles from just northeast of Durham all the way to Pamlico Sound. The birthplace of Pepsi, New Bern, is located on the river where it widens significantly before emptying into
Pepsi.
the Atlantic. Missouri barely sneaks its way into the top
Gasconade.
25 states with the Gasconade River in the heart of the state at
Gee.
280
Gasconade.
miles. Often known as one of the crookedest rivers in the world,
Gasconade.
it runs from the Ozarks northward into the Missouri
very
River along a
twisty
winding
river.
route. And because of
Yeah.
this and its rural setting, it's called a good river for floating by
Missouri.
locals.
Good river.
Oregon's
Explain.
longest river is the John Day River, a
John
major
Day
tributary
River.
of the Columbia that flows
There are
northwest
shortage
for
of
about
names or what?
284 miles from the
Unique
Strawberry
names.
Mountains.
Yeah.
It's among the longest undammed rivers in the contiguous U.S. and is also known by its native Cayuse name of Maha.
Maha.
Tennessee's 284-mile Duck River is the state's longest. Now, I never would have guessed
Duck
this,
River.
but it's the most biologically diverse freshwater river in North America,
Oh,
home to
that's why.
hundreds of different species. Especially known for its various fish and mussels, it's a large tributary of the Tennessee River flowing westward through Middle Tennessee. The St. Johns River in Florida checks in
St.
at
John.
310 miles.
It's like a
Starting in the
church.
marshes near Melbourne, it slowly makes its way north close to the coast until widening significantly south of Jacksonville, where it finally empties into the ocean. Florida's land boom and ongoing development has severely threatened this river's health.
Oh.
This is the only statistic I can think of where Nebraska ties with Florida. The Platte River is also 310 miles
Platte
long.
River.
It forms from the confluence of the South and North Platte at the city of North Platte, arcing its way across the state until its mouth at the Missouri River near the city of Plattsmouth. Never change, Nebraska. Alabama brings
Plattsmouth.
another state-named river to the list with the Alabama.
Alabama.
Beginning just north of Montgomery, it heads southwest
They
for
didn't even
318
take an
miles
effort
to
to
the
name
Mobile River,
another.
passing the town of
Like
Selma
Alabama,
and flowing
Alabama.
right under the civil rights landmark Edmund Pettus Bridge along the way. The Iowa River is up next
Iowa
as the longest
River.
river in, you guessed it, Iowa,
Oh,
at 323 miles. Iowa City, Iowa is Iowa's largest city on the Iowa, which flows southeast from the town of Belmont into the Mississippi River.
Iowa
Nevada's
City's
Humboldt
Iowa's
River
biggest.
is a cool one, as it flows into an endorheic
Nevada.
basin called the Humboldt Sink after
Nevada,
running for about
Nevada.
330 miles to the west.
Nevada.
Endorheic means that its water never reaches the
Very
ocean,
pronounced.
unlike most rivers.
Oh, its
As
water
the
never
largest
reaches the
watershed
ocean.
in the Great Basin, it
Oh,
supports
this
many
is
small
unique.
cities along its course and has served as a major transportation route throughout history.
Wow.
Mississippi, the state, ties with Nevada at 330
Big Black
miles.
River.
The Big Black River slices southwest across a mostly rural area in the middle of the state, ending up in the Mississippi River south of Vicksburg. The riverbanks in this area were a pivotal battle site in the Civil War, leading to a major Union victory at the Siege of Vicksburg. Minnesota joins the eponymous river club with the
Minnesota. Minnesota is a big
332-mile
river.
Minnesota River. Barely starting in Minnesota at
500
Big Stone
kilometers.
Lake on the South Dakota border, it follows a V-shaped route through the southwest of the state, eventually arriving at the Mississippi River in the Twin Cities. Arizona takes us back to the desert with its Little Colorado River at 338 miles long. Starting very close to
Imagine
New
500
Mexico, it
kilometers.
runs northwest to the main Colorado River. Just
there are
before this
so
confluence,
many
it carves
rivers.
out an impressive small section of the Grand Canyon system. Its location in the quite dry, painted desert leaves most of the river with no water except during monsoon seasons and snowmelt in the early spring. The Musselshell River is the longest one, only in
Musselshell
Montana,
River.
at almost 342 miles long. It rises in the center of the state, running east and then north to the Missouri River through a completely rural area. Roundup, with just 1,700 residents, is the largest city along the banks of the Musselshell. Georgia's
Only
Flint River covers an impressive
small city.
344
Flint River.
miles, rising in College Park, a city in the south suburbs of Atlanta. Incredibly, the river
am,
flows
like,
under the
imagining
runways of the
faces
massive Atlanta
by hearing the
Hartsfield-Jackson
names of the
Airport, then
rivers.
making its way south past Albany and
Flint
into Lake
makes
Seminole
kind of
at the southwesternmost corner of the state. The James River essentially bisects the state of Virginia as it runs for 348 miles from the Appalachian Mountains to the Hampton Roads area. A quite well-known river for being the site of Jamestown, the first English settlement in the Americas, it also
Wow.
passes through the capital city,
Richmond.
Richmond. Much like Virginia, Indiana's longest river also covers almost the entire
White
width of
River.
the state and passes right through its capital city. The White River's west
Why are they
fork
named
is
White River, Black
362
River?
miles long and flows west to the Wabash after rising near Indiana's
Guys
highest
have
point of
Golden
Hoosier
River.
Hill. As mentioned, Indianapolis was built on the banks of the river. Kentucky kicks off the last 10
River.
states of
Green
the list with
River.
its 384-mile-long Green River. Located
might
in the
have
center of the
Rainbow
state,
River.
it meanders its way to the Ohio River south of Evansville.
Ohio.
This river manages to avoid any of Kentucky's larger cities on its routes, but its true claim to fame is passing right through
Kentucky.
Mammoth Cave National Park and draining
Mammoth
the massive
Cave.
cave system. I saw several different numbers come up for Utah's Sevier River, but 385 miles seems like a good
Sevier
compromise,
River.
putting Utah in ninth place.
Sevier.
The Sevier is another endorheic river curving through the southwest corner of the state and draining into Sevier Lake. It's a heavily irrigated
Oh,
river
it
along
drains
most of
into
its
a
course,
lake.
causing the lake to be mostly dried up. Kansas slides into 8th place with a repeat name. Its saline river is 397 miles long and is not to be confused with that one in Arkansas. The Kansas saline runs east through the rural northwest corner of the state before emptying into the Smoky Hill River just east of Salina, which was named after the river.
Why couldn't you give another
California
name?
takes 7th place with its 400-mile-long Sacramento River. Following an impressive southward route through the heart of Northern California, it passes by major Californian cities like Redding and Sacramento, of course, on its way to Suisun Bay. Thanks to the insane state water project, over half of California's 39 million residents receive drinking water from this river.
Beautiful.
Idaho's longest river happens to share a name with one of my favorite foods, salmon, and measures in at 425 miles. With a beautiful Rocky Mountain setting, it swims its way through pristine wilderness and ends at the Snake River next to northeast Oregon. It's also called the River of No Return, as early boats navigating downstream were unable to go the other way due to rapids and a high flow rate. Incredibly, Wisconsin starts off the top 5, whose eponymous river makes full use of the state's large area. It meanders its way south for 430 miles from the Michigan border to the Mississippi River next to Iowa. One of its more well-known landmarks and destinations are the Dells, a several-mile stretch of sandstone formations, and the popular resorts and theme parks nearby.
Wow.
Oklahoma's North Canadian River takes 4th place at 440 miles. It certainly lives up to its name, flowing more or less parallel to and north of the main Canadian River through the middle of the state. Oklahoma City is on the river, but the section passing through it was renamed to the Oklahoma River in 2004. Maybe they should just call the entire river that at this point. Now, if you asked me to predict it before writing this video, I would not have put North Dakota in 3rd place. But that's where we find it, with the Cheyenne River measuring nearly 600 miles, due to its extremely winding route through the east half of the state. Passing north through the suburbs of Fargo before hitting the Red River, major diversion projects were undertaken in the 90s to protect the area from flooding. Our last 2 states are no surprises though. Alaska is in 2nd place with its 702-mile-long and very fun to say Kuskokwim River. It flows through mostly rural and flat southwest Alaska, supporting the state's 8th largest city, Bethel, and is used year-round for water transport and even road vehicles when it's frozen in the winter. It's the longest undammed river in the country, and including its various tributaries and forks, is also the largest river system entirely located in one state.
Oh wow.
All the Texans watching will be very proud that their state beat out Alaska for the title of longest self-contained river in the U.S. Wow. The Colorado River of Texas is 862 miles long, starting east of La Mesa and working its way southeast through the state capital Austin and out into the Gulf of Mexico southwest of Houston. Providing electricity, drinking water, and irrigation to millions, it's an invaluable component of Texan geography.
This was a fascinating video because every state has a river, and that is a very big thing. Like India can be comparable to USA also, because like in our country also, each and every state you can say have their own rivers. Of course, some very big and some very small. Like India also have a very big river. You might know the name Ganga or Ganges, as many Britishers or foreigners know it as. So it is like about double the size. It is 2,500 kilometers. So it is bigger than the Colorado River. And also the thing is like we also have another river, Brahmaputra River. But yes, they are also like interstate rivers. All these rivers are single state rivers. So I think the single state rivers, then Tapti, the state which I live in, can be considered.
Yeah, but I would like to appreciate the names of the river. Like you guys have really, aesthetic, I would say, and the amazing names that I have never ever heard. Even I didn't know about so much rivers in USA, but after watching this video, I'm quite impressed by the names.
Very different name: Charles River, New Day, Black River, White River.
White was also there.
It's an interesting name. So, what do you guys think about it? Do let us know in the comment section below. So, do like, share,
subscribe.
Bye.